Tell us about this inaugural deal that's been brokered by yourselves.
Yeah, no, this is a very exciting deal because it has the potential, as you said, to be quite transformational. The Tony Elumelu Foundation is a new foundation here in Nigeria that's Pan-African focused, and we're focused on helping to catalyze and build the African private sector. And one of the tools that we will be using to do so is what we call impact investing. And impact investing is a global movement that's bringing together a rather non-traditional group of partners from investment banks, pension funds, all the way to traditional foundations. And the concept is basically that you address social and environmental challenges with for-profit approaches.
Right.
And so this initial deal in the agriculture sector in Tanzania is in many ways set to change the way that development could be done. And we're saying, look, for years and years, billions of dollars have been channeled into development in agriculture, in the agriculture sector in Africa, while so much of this could have been done in a for-profit way, and it would have ultimately been much more sustainable. And that's kind of the message we're trying to bring here.
Okay, Viva, tell us about those who are involved in this particular transaction. The Tony Elumelu Foundation, that's the philanthropy arm. Then there's Heirs Holdings, which is an investment arm. And then obviously there are the farming partners in Tanzania. How did you all get together?
Right. Well, so the farming partners in Tanzania, the farm was initially revived. It was on an old agricultural property that had largely been left fallow for decades. And a local farmer about 3 to 4 years ago started reviving it and building it up, and got an initial injection of capital from investors from Lions Head Capital Partners. They're a London-based impact investment bank. And they were also invested in by Calvert Foundation, which is an American foundation also doing impact investing. And so that was sort of the initial team involved in it. Now they were looking for another round of capital, and prior to coming to the foundation, I was actually based in Nairobi with the Rockefeller Foundation. And we were heavily involved in impact investing, so I knew about this deal opportunity at that time. When we came over, we made introductions, and the folks from Lions Head, who were the ones who sort of organized this and structured the deal, came to talk to us about it. And we were really excited to use this as one of our inaugural impact investments from the foundation. But it was one of these unique deals that the social and environmental impact was really high, but the financial return potential was also high. And so Heirs Holdings, which is our partner company, and they're the investment arm of the group. They looked at the numbers and said, "Hey, look, this is something we'd like to get into also." So it was very, very exciting.
I'm curious, Viva, because you're out there in West Africa, and I know your strategy is Pan-African, but some would argue Nigeria's got its own very serious and critical needs for investment in agriculture domestically. Why venture so far? Even if there's a very strong investment case that came to you from the various components in Tanzania, shouldn't you be looking at home first?
Right, that's a very good question, and Nigeria definitely has massive opportunity for impact investments and other types of investments in agriculture. One of the reasons for this investment, however, is something that we call innovation transfer. And there's parts of Africa that are doing really, really well in certain sectors that you can learn from them and then bring them to other parts of Africa. So in some ways, we see the farm in Tanzania, it's somewhat more developed than an agriculture asset that you might find here in Nigeria. And so it's a great way that you can say, okay, let's learn from them. And then if we do investments here in agriculture or elsewhere in West Africa, et cetera, there's a lot we can learn from them. There's a lot of interaction that can go on and so on. And kind of doing that across regions in Africa is a great way to help build Africa from within.
What about weighing up the risks, Viva? In Tanzania in particular, the authorities are very, very strict about foreign ownership of assets such as land, for instance. We've seen in major IPOs the blockage of investors from countries like Kenya into some of those national champions. So that's the kind of environment you're operating in. How have you dealt and assessed and weighed up those risks?
Well, in any agricultural investment, obviously land is a huge issue, and this is one where all of that has been done very, very, very carefully and very collaboratively with the communities. In fact, the communities are even going to the farm now and saying, "Hey, look, we have more land that we would like to lease you. We'd like to partner with you, etc." So a lot of those problems come, I believe, when the engagement with the community isn't done properly from the beginning. Everything about this deal from the beginning has been a partnership between local investors, foreign investors, and so on, and so yeah, we're not that concerned, especially considering that it's also an agriculture, which for the government of Tanzania is such a hugely important program for them with Kilimo Kwanza, and this is the region that they're really pushing development for. And so, you know, it's really in everyone's best interest to make sure that everybody who's interested in investing with the right objectives for that investment, you know, that everything works out well and that, you know, it's a win-win for everybody.
I mean, obviously with growing fears of food inflation and general issues around food security, there's a very strong moral case for this. But why is this deal being seen as a new kind of philanthropy?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
I'm saying, why is this deal being seen as engendering a new kind of philanthropy in the investment case?
Okay, yeah. Well, basically, the traditional form of philanthropy would have said, okay, this is not. We're not going to be asking for a return. We're going to just give you grant money, and in some ways, a lot of that grant money going into the agriculture sector has actually undermined the development of the private sector along a lot of agriculture value chains. And so, by doing it this way, where we're saying, look, you know what, as a foundation, we're primarily interested in the social and environmental return and social environmental impact. But if there is a financial return involved, we're willing to take a lower financial return than a traditional investor would. But if there is a financial return, that actually means that this ends up being more sustainable, because, you know, the sort of profits from the farm can either be channeled back into growing the farm further and creating more sort of development benefits, or it can now be channeled into other foundation programs. And so it really creates that cycle of sustainability that, you know, simply giving away money and grant making doesn't necessarily do. In this case also, you know, we were able to crowd in private money from Heirs Holdings, which is our partner. And that's actually quite phenomenal as well, that there's an attractive case to be made. And we see this as an opportunity where Heirs Holdings participation as well will also turn attention to this and will catalyze further private investment of this type done in a responsible way in agriculture across Africa. So that really is how we see it, as a different way of doing philanthropy, that it's both, you know, looking at how you make this sustainable and long term, but also how do you catalyze much larger amounts of money into sectors that badly need investment.